everyone. This is Love. My friends call me Oak, and I am doing this video to help out some friends who want to see my Bard opener and get a better understanding of it. I have to thank Larkess Farlight for showing me this opener. It is definitely better than the one I was using and has provided me with a pretty significant DPS boost. Now, just as a good FYI, this opener requires the use of certain non-Bard skills. You will want to get Blood for Blood if you can, which is a level 34 Lancer ability, and you will want to get Internal Release, which is a level 12 Monk or Pugilist ability. That's the easiest one to get, and it is integral to this specific rotation. Blood for Blood, not quite as much, but it still provides an extra 10% damage. You just have to watch out for the 25% damage increase you take if you get hit by stuff. But if you can avoid that, then it is a pretty excellent opener. I will show this opener a few times. It'll be a little bit slower at the beginning so you can get an idea of the attacks I'm using and the order that I use them in. And I'll try and show it at least 2 to 3 times. So to start off, what I do is, even if there aren't any normal spellcasters like a summoner or a black mage in the group, I will use Foe's Requiem anyway for any healers that decide to DPS during the fight. This opener is also best done during a countdown, and of course taking into account the range of Foe's Requiem so that it doesn't aggro the boss, or doing it at a point where the tank will already be pulling the boss as it goes into effect. So I will quickly go over the abilities. I will start with Foe's Requiem, Battle Voice to increase the effectiveness, Quelling Strikes, because this will be a significantly damaging opener, and if you don't use Quelling Strikes, you're almost guaranteed to pull hate from the tank. So Foe's Requiem, Battle Voice, and Quelling Strikes are considered the first part. There's 3 phases. The second phase, you will then use Barrage, Blood for Blood, Raging Strikes, Hawk's Eye, and then Imperial Arrow. I consider that phase 2. Phase 3, you use Straight Shot, Bloodletter, Wind Bite, Internal Release, Venomous Bite, and then Sidewinder. That is phase 3. That is essentially the ending of the main opener. Now, if you are quick with your moves and you have a high enough skill speed, you can get Imperial Arrow off again before the buffs drop off. Generally, what tends to happen is once I have completed using Sidewinder, I also use Blunt Arrow, lay down a patch for Flaming Arrow. Most of the time I can get another Bloodletter off, and even an Iron Jaws, before Imperial Arrow comes back up. Since I will be explaining this, I may not be able to get all of the attacks off on the explanations. So I will be showing this, and I'll be highlighting each attack using the mouse instead of using the keyboard like I normally do. So again, this will be the start of the opener. Foe's Requiem, Battle Voice, Quelling Strikes, Barrage, Blood for Blood, Raging Strikes, Hawk's Eye, Imperial Arrow, Straight Shot, Bloodletter, Wind Bite, Internal Release, Venomous Bite, Sidewinder, generally will get off Blunt Arrow, and Flaming Arrow, and then Imperial Arrow. Since this is going significantly slower than my normal rotation, because I'm using the mouse, Imperial Arrow had fully recovered before I even got back to it. Normally, I have to roll in something else like a heavy shot if Bloodletter is not back up, or use an Iron Jaws and then use Imperial Arrow. So this opener is a pretty heavy damage, so again, you've got to use Quelling Strikes at the beginning, because otherwise you are almost guaranteed to pull hate off of the tank. Even the best tanks, if Quelling Strikes isn't used, I have had this get pulled off of them before. Quelling Strikes is a must, and even with Quelling Strikes, I have still seen it pull hate, because it doesn't completely remove Enmity Generation, just lowers it. So I will get out of range of the dummy so that I will go out of battle so my cooldowns can reset. Now, as you can see, I have other abilities. There's certain ones I don't tend to use that often. Sometimes I can even get a feint thrown in, and of course, if you are someone who tends to get close to the boss to use Repelling Shot too, you can just try and make sure you are using it at a point where you are not actually losing the rest of your DPS because of movement. Okay, so at this point my cooldowns are done, so again I will show this but try and do it a little bit quicker. Oh, I have to wait for Battle Voice. I will do this a little quicker using my keyboard instead of the mouse to try and show the rotation. But again, it's Foe's Requiem, Battle Voice, Quelling Strikes, that's phase 1, Barrage, Blood for Blood, Raging Strikes, Hawk's Eye, Imperial Arrow, that's phase 2, Straight Shot, Bloodletter, Wind Bite, Internal Release, Venomous Bite, and Sidewinder, that's phase 3. And again, the latter part of it is getting as many abilities as you can in after that part, and using Imperial Arrow as soon as it comes up. And if you do the abilities quick enough, then it will you'll be able to use it again before the buffs drop, so you'll get the added damage from Imperial Arrow, and if you're lucky, even a crit, since you're not using Barrage again at that point. So again, my everything has come off of cooldown, so I'm going to do this again. So, Foe's Requiem, Battle Voice, Quelling Strikes, Barrage, Blood for Blood, Raging Strikes, Hawk's Eye, Imperial Arrow, Straight Shot, Bloodletter, Wind Bite, Internal Release, Venomous Bite, Sidewinder. I was able to get a Bloodletter and Blunt Arrow before Imperial Arrow came back up. And again, with me explaining it, I'm still going a little bit slower than I normally do. Of course, it's important in between the rotations, you always want to keep Iron Jaws up. Now, I tend to refresh Iron Jaws more than other people, but I look at it this way. I would rather refresh Iron Jaws earlier than wait till it's a bit late in the countdown and then they drop off and you have to use Wind Bite and Venomous Bite again. So I consider that not a significant DPS loss. Okay, so again, that is the end of this. Basically, that is showing the rotation. So I will let my cooldowns refresh and then show the opener, hopefully with no mistakes, without doing without explaining it, so that it can be seen at its fastest speed. And just as a little bit of an advertisement, my free company is named the Wild Tonberries. We are on the Sargatana server. We are in Lavender Beds, Ward 1, Plot 36. We are a very friendly and welcoming free company, and, you know, as long as you are a person who likes to have fun, isn't not going to win me any friends here, but as long as you're not too stuck up, we're going to love having you in the free company. We like to laugh, make fun. Sometimes we don't talk that much if everybody's running stuff, but we tend to have a lot of fun in the free company. We, of course, as you can see, we have a large house with a Christmas tree outside and inside, and we have all the amenities: bells, whistles, books, free company chest inside the house, all the crafting tables, even an aquarium if you want to gaze at it all day. But anyway, I am going to show the rotation again, but this time I am not going to explain it. So again, just to show you here, I'm going to highlight over the icons again. Again, this is my placement of the icons, so whatever placement that works best for you, go ahead and use that. For whatever reason, this placement has always worked best for me. So again, just as to show it real quick, Phase 1, Foe's Requiem, Battle Voice, Quelling Strikes. What I recommend, especially if you can be in a group that has a tank that will do a cooldown before pulling, stand right at the very edge of the area. So if you know the range on Foe's Requiem, you can put it up in the middle of the cooldown. But if you're gonna be in range, I recommend starting Foe's Requiem at about 4 seconds, because usually once it goes up, it takes 1 to 2 seconds for the boss to actually aggro you, and by then hopefully the tank has already pulled hate. So again, Foe's Requiem, Battle Voice, Quelling Strikes. Quelling Strikes is an absolute necessity. Phase 2, Barrage, Blood for Blood, Raging Strikes, Hawk's Eye, Imperial Arrow. Phase 3, Straight Shot, Bloodletter, Wind Bite, Internal Release, Venomous Bite, Sidewinder. And then if you do it fast enough, which again it will take some practice, you can generally get in a Blunt Arrow, a Flaming Arrow, and sometimes even a Bloodletter before Imperial Arrow is back up. And if you time it well, you can use Imperial Arrow again before the other buffs fall off. So you will still get a good amount of DPS with this opener, and if you don't use Quelling Strikes, you are almost guaranteed to pull hate from the boss, or from the tank. I've had this pull hate from even the best of the tanks if for some reason I miss Quelling Strikes. So again, this is the third visible showing of it. And again, I will not explain any of it. I will do, starting now. Just doing a countdown to show where I generally start. Almost a 6000k Imperial Arrow with a crit, because I got it up while the buffs were still up. Sure, I don't have Monk or Black Mage or Dragoon DPS, but it's no slouch either. Again, of course, you'll most likely have to move in most situations during this. You won't be able to keep up this amount of DPS. But if you continue to do as much as possible while the cooldowns, generally what I do is as soon as Internal Release and Sidewinder are back up, because they are on the same cooldown timer, make sure you have Wind Bite and Venomous Bite up and use Iron Jaws right before, so you can then use Internal Release again and Sidewinder as soon as they come back up. Well, that was a real low one. It was only 4,500. I've seen over 7,000 crit before. But there you go. That is the rotation. Definitely takes a bit of getting used to. Again, I want to thank Larkes Farlight for showing me most of this rotation. I've made some slight changes to it based on my own preferences. And again, this was a significant boost to my DPS. Again, it's not so good for trash fights. This is specifically meant for bosses or doing primals or doing raids. You don't want to use this on trash. Just as a couple of extra tips for those who play Bard or are learning it and want to get better. When you are fighting trash, you know, at least 3 or 4 mobs at once. If there's less than 4, less than 3, you just want to use single target. It's not worth using AoEs. But you can always throw in an internal release with your Rain of Death and wide volleys to increase their chance of crit. Just make sure, again, it only takes 60 seconds to recover, so just make sure that's available. My recommendation also is to, depending upon which system you're on, tab or use the controller to switch between enemies. Use a wind bite, switch to another one, use a venomous bite, switch to another one, till all of them have at least one of your dots on them. That will make Rain of Death / Bloodletter. Again, what those abilities do is that if any of their hits crit, there is a 50% chance that Bloodletter / Rain of Death will reset, and then you will be able to use them. So sometimes I have seen Rain of Death proc, which is the term that they use, multiple times. Sometimes even twice within 1 or 2 seconds, not even having enough time to use it before it resets again. So it's very useful to do that. It's handy. Again, when it comes to blunt arrow, when you are familiar with certain fights, if there is a situation where you know you need to use an ability that causes silence, don't use blunt arrow for the opener if you know you're going to need it very quickly after that. Lots of fights you don't. Most of the time you don't need silence or a stun from any other DPS, and I'm pretty sure all tanks will work. But if you specifically need a silence, there's less classes that have that ability, so you want to keep blunt arrow handy. I have absolutely no use for Shadowbind. I don't even know why I keep it on my bar. Of course, Invigorate restores TP. That is a level 22 Lancer ability, so you'll get that if you're going for Blood, again, which is level 34. So it's definitely one that you want in your repertoire, especially if you do a lot of AoE on large mobs, because it restores 400 TP. That is a huge boost. Quick Knock, it's really not much different than using the other abilities, except it uses a little bit less TP. So if it's a smaller group of enemies and you're going to be close enough in the cone attack that Quick Knock does, then it is worth using sometimes. Of course, Second Wind is a self-heal, and again, Repelling Shot knocks you back. And if you can use that as part of the opener rotation, feel free, but don't use it if it sacrifices the use of other abilities. You want that opener to be as fast as possible. My current skill speed is 2.34 seconds. That's probably higher than is actually necessary for this rotation. And so I have 775 skill speed. So that is definitely enough for this rotation. If you do it fast enough, you can get, again, a second Imperial Arrow off after the end of the rotation before the buffs drop. So, apologize for being long-winded. Again, this is Jirok Nalav. My friends call me Oak. I'm on the Sargatanas server. Look me up if you have any questions, or if you think I'm making a very poor video, let me know. I don't do this very often. But thank you very much. I hope my friends or anybody else that sees this finds it useful. Goodbye, everyone.